Welcome to Start With Comics. Today, we're diving into the most heartless and brutal deaths in comic book history. The ones that still haunt our nightmares. These moments made readers gasp, cry, and sometimes even close the comics in disbelief. Brace yourself, because this video is going to get dark. Very dark. The first is the death of Lori. As you know, Lori is the wife of Rick Grimes, the protagonist. Believing his husband was dead, she wasted no time in sleeping with Rick's best friend Shane, and even got pregnant. Later, she reunited with Rick, and things seemed fine despite the fact that she was pregnant in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. She gave birth to a baby girl, Judith, who Rick adopted as his own. For a while, they lived safely in a prison, until the governor arrived. And let me be clear, this isn't the watered-down version from the show. In the comics, the governor is a rapist, a sadistic murderer, and eventually he led an attack on the prison, killing many. Rick tried to escape with Lori, but while fleeing, Lori was shot, basically destroying her torso. The bullet also killed the baby she was holding in her arms. With nothing he could do, and still needing to protect Carl, Rick ran away in tears. This scene was loosely adapted in the show, but with an even more disturbing twist. Carl himself has to put down his mother after she turns into a walker during childbirth. And of course, that gave us the infamous Rick crying meme, which is kind of funny now, but honestly, it was heartbreaking back then. But Lori's death wasn't the only brutal moment. For me, the worst came in issue number 100, when the group meets Negan. Unlike the governor, Negan is even crazier and far more cruel. The group thought they might be able to negotiate, but Negan wanted to make it crystal clear he wasn't playing around. So, he took his barbed wire bat, Lucille, and smashed Glenn's head in. The scene was grotesque and devastating, especially because Glenn was one of the most beloved characters. Negan even mocked him, joking about his eye popping out, all while Glenn cried out for Maggie, before finally being beaten to death in front of everyone, his brains spilled on the ground. I was reading The Walking Dead month by month when that issue dropped, and honestly, I cried. I didn't even want to open another page of that comic again. Of course, the show later adapted this death almost panel for panel, giving actor Steven Yeun a savage exit from the series. Without question, one of the most brutal moments during TWD's golden years. The deaths of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If it's hard to see fictional characters die, it's even worse when they're animals. And the Ninja Turtles have had some really brutal deaths in the comics. Let's start with Donatello's death in TMNT number 44 from IDW. This series blended the dark tone of the original comics with the more fun side of the Turtles. But in this issue, things got heavy. Shredder sent Bebop and Rocksteady to attack Donatello, who was left alone while his brothers were away. What started like a normal fight turned horrific when Rocksteady smashed Donnie's shell with a sledgehammer, leaving him broken. Rocksteady even joked, "Is this what it's supposed to look like inside?" When his brothers returned, they were heartbroken by the scene. Thankfully, Splinter managed to transfer Donatello's mind into a robot body while his real body healed. And of course, Donnie got his revenge on Bebop and Rocksteady, literally blowing them to pieces. Eventually, he made it back into his body, but the moment was terrifying. An even darker story is The Last Ronin, basically an Elseworlds for the Ninja Turtles. In this timeline, only Michelangelo is alive. All his brothers are dead. The tragedy unfolds one by one. Raphael is consumed by rage, takes on the Foot Clan alone, and is struck down by Karai with a dagger, sinking to the bottom of the sea. Splinter and Donatello are ambushed by Oroku Hiroto, Shredder's grandson, and despite their resistance, both die covered in arrows. Leonardo and Casey sacrifice themselves in an explosion to save Mikey and April. Now, Mikey, as the last Ronin, carries the weapons and masks of his fallen brothers. He fights both Baxter Stockman and Hiroto in a final battle. In the end, Mikey dies too, but not before reuniting with his family in the afterlife.
Punisher is cut to pieces. Wolverine is the best at what he does, and what he does is tear people apart. But in this case, it wasn't Logan, it was his twisted son, Daken. Daken grew up hating his father, and eventually joined Norman Osborn's Dark Avengers. Frank Castle, the Punisher, tried to stop him. In the battle, Punisher fought hard. He even gouged out one of Daken's eyes. But against adamantium claws and mutant healing, Frank didn't stand a chance. Daken butchered him, slashing his throat, cutting off his arms and legs, and finally decapitating him. Punisher was literally hacked into pieces and left in an alley. But thanks to Morbius and the Legion of Monsters, Frank was resurrected as Frankencastle. Of course, Wolverine himself would later face his son. In a brutal fight, Wolverine finally killed Daken by drowning him, one of the few ways to truly kill someone with a healing factor. Wolverine held his son underwater while memories of the life they never had together flashed before him. It was tragic. Wolverine killed his own child.
Let's switch to DC. In one of the darkest universes, Batman finally snaps and kills the Joker. But hidden inside the Joker's heart was a toxin that infected Bruce, turning him into a maniac. This version of Batman killed the entire Bat family, armed children with Joker toxin, and even forced Damian to take it. Then he wiped out the Justice League using weapons he had collected over the years. He poisoned Superman with black kryptonite, driving him insane and causing him to kill Lois and their child. This is the Batman who laughs, one of the most twisted versions of Batman ever created. Superman kills Batman. Across the multiverse, we've seen what happens when Superman doesn't hold back. And often, Batman doesn't stand a chance. In Countdown to Infinite Crisis, an alternate Batman from Earth 51 fought Ultraman, only to have his skull crushed instantly. Later, Superboy Prime rampaged through countless universes, slaughtering heroes left and right. He snapped Wonder Woman's face against her invisible jet, tore apart Superman from Earth 2, and in one fight carried Batman high into the atmosphere just to remind him that across the multiverse he's always useless, before slamming him back down, tearing his body apart. Superboy Prime remains one of the most violent, terrifying versions of Superman ever. Now back to Marvel. One of the darkest moments ever comes from Marvel Zombies. After being infected, Peter Parker returns home, where Aunt May and Mary Jane try to help him. But he transforms and devours them both, tearing off Aunt May's head and eating parts of MJ. From there, his hunger only grows. He eats Kraven, rips out Mysterio's guts, decapitates Electro, dismembers Vulture, and more. Realizing he's no longer a hero, Peter rips off his own skin, admitting he's become a monster. And if that wasn't enough, Marvel gave us an even darker universe, Marvel Ruins, where every hero suffers a horrible, realistic fate. The Avengers are nuked by the US government. Peter Parker dies of radioactive poisoning after the spider bite. Jean Grey is a prostitute, murdered by Nick Fury. The Fantastic Four are killed by cosmic rays. Silver Surfer explodes from within, trying to breathe Earth's air. Ghost Rider burns himself alive in a stunt. Punisher lies dead from a gunshot to the head. Bruce Banner mutates into a tumor-covered husk. It's a world where nothing goes right, and every hero dies miserably. And that brings us to the end of this video. I hope it wasn't too hard on you. Remember, your favorite heroes are still alive and well out there. Except for the ones in The Walking Dead. Those guys really didn't make it. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more brutal comic book content. I'm Mr. X, and I'll see you next time.